Erin, thanks so much for being with me. And if you're watching this video, guys, this is a remarkable woman here. Erin is brave, courageous. She's a medical professional, and let's get right into it. So, Erin, you have put some remarkable pieces, some video. You've gone in public, put yourself on record about the way COVID's being handled. So I just want folks who have not seen you or heard about you, some of that video that you shot, were you actually in a nursing home?
Actually, so I am originally from Florida, but during the height of this pandemic, I ended up taking a travel nursing position to New York, but I was actually in Elmhurst Hospital, which was considered the epicenter of the epicenter during the pandemic in the United States. So it was actually the hospital, the main hospital that I was in during this time that I recorded in.
So you're in the hospital, it's the epicenter, you're actually there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to keep coming back to that. Again, this is not some video you saw, an article you saw. Your person was actually at the hospital. Now, while you were there, did you see with your own eyes patients, COVID patients? Did you interact with doctors treating COVID patients?
Yeah, I mean, the entire time I was there, it was just about a month. Every single one of my patients was a COVID patient. Yes, I was boots on the ground, hands-on, physically in the rooms with these patients, 12 hours, sometimes up to 14 hours every single day with no breaks in between. So I was definitely right there, in the storm, essentially.
And doctors, did you interact or did you talk with, because you're not a doctor, you're a registered nurse.
Yes.
Were you interacting with doctors that were treating the patients?
Yes, every single day. We worked as close as we could, together. But the problem that occurred in there was not everybody was on the same page. And that's where trouble, kind of started.
So you're there, you've seen interacting with patients, you're interacting with the doctors, you see what the doctors are being treated. And because you taped yourself, for those of you who don't know, Erin actually has video of her interacting with doctors, having candid discussions about the treatment. Erin's challenging the doctors on the treatment, and doctors' responses are recorded, and you can see this on YouTube. And we'll put a link to her videos here with this, so you can go in and look at that for yourself. But Erin, here's what I'm beginning to get the sense of. And you said my patient, so you're a registered nurse. You do this. This is what you do. Mm-hmm. You treat patients with COVID. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, I've been in some form of the medical field for over 20 years, a nurse almost a decade, and so. Yeah, I mean, this is what I've been trained to do. This is what I've been, doing almost my, entire adult life. So I know what is ethical and what's unethical. And what I found when I got to Elmhurst was completely unethical behavior happening inside these walls. And what happened is, no family was involved. It became a liability-free environment per, governor's orders. And, that ultimately created the perfect storm. And as a nurse, I have to be ethical. That's my entire job. It's my job to be the patient's advocate. It's my job to make sure everything's being done right. And that wasn't happening. And I know that this didn't happen just in New York. This was happening all over the United States, all over the globe. And, there were multiple people that came forward before me, but they were discredited and they were told, they were crazy. They were making things up. So I contacted an attorney when I first got there and I said, listen, no one's going to believe me. What can we do? And, that's when we decided that it would be vital for the public to see live video and hear recordings of what was actually happening and why these deaths were occurring. So
yeah. I want to, given all of that you just said, I get the sense that you're intimately familiar with this disease. And again, there's a lot we don't know, but you know a lot. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a politician. I'm a software guy.
Mhm.
In talking with you, it seems like you're what we would call a subject matter expert on this topic, if anyone could be called a subject matter expert, because you've handled the patients, you've handled the treatment, you've interacted with the doctors, you've been actually at ground zero. So why I set all of that up is this. We have friends, you may as well, and they look at Mr. Fauci on TV,
Yeah.
and let's be honest with you, he just sounds so good. I mean, he's very calm. What he says seems to make a lot of sense. He has said repeatedly that he trusts the experts that are behind his COVID strategy. He said repeatedly, but he doesn't say who the experts are, but that's okay. He says that everything has been done with regard to the vaccine and the treatment and strategy with a lot of due process. Everything's been thoughtfully thought through. And I tell you, he just sounds great. But something just doesn't seem right. He wants to do continued lockdowns. And you know what? If that's going to keep people safe, I have an 80-year-old mom living with me. If it's going to require lockdowns to keep my mom safe, I'll be honest with you, I'm okay with that. But here's the question I want to ask you, Erin. What is his source of expertise? I don't, I may be completely wrong here. I don't know if he's worked with patients. I don't know if he's been in a hospital where there are patients being treated and they're dying. I don't know if he's actually someone that doctors can speak with one-on-one
Mhm.
and actually get into the details. So I'm a little confused. And I don't know how this man has become our spokesperson and our strategist for COVID. So could you maybe share a little light on maybe his background or what you know of? Because I'm confused.
No, I think that you make a really good point, because I've actually been saying this from day one is, why aren't they listening to those of us with actual boots on the ground that are speaking out, getting fired, losing our jobs because of what's happening? And a lot of the negative feedback that I get are from people that have not had boots on the ground and that are not, I guess, they're going along with whoever is saying, Fauci being one of them, about how we should, I guess, treat this pandemic, I guess. So Fauci has not treated a patient for, I don't even know how long, honestly. But one thing with him, and I think this is why he's been slowly losing his credibility, if he ever had any to begin with, is because he's been very wishy-washy. And, at first it was no masks. Now it's masks and no masks, and, take the vaccine, no the vaccine. So where does he fall, into this expert zone, I guess you can say? And what makes him an expert, and why is he, so I guess essentially attempting to lead the charge with absolutely no experience? And the problem is, any of us that have spoken out and are sharing, like for me personally, like live video of gross negligence and the treatment protocol, like ultimately killing every single one of my patients. Why aren't they listening to that? And ultimately, I think that they've made this into a partisan issue when it should have always been, a humanitarian issue. And that is part of the problem. And ultimately, it's cost a lot of people's lives, because of that. So I don't know how to explain where Fauci fits in, but I think there's a lot of higher powers that are funding him. A lot of this is focused on, money. Ultimately, it all comes down to money. And
So, when you talk about money, and I want to get back to Fauci and even look at Governor Cuomo as well. I mean, this is, but on the money side, I don't know if you can comment on this. Like most people, I hear things, I see things, and I don't remember where I heard them or where I saw them. There's just so much noise. But I did hear that when a patient diagnoses when a facility diagnoses, let me say this, a facility is financially incentivized
Mhm.
to diagnose a patient with COVID, even if they're not dying of COVID, but to attribute the death to COVID. I'm saying it so terribly. Do you know what I'm talking about? And could you say it
Yeah.
more accurately?
No, I mean, financial incentive to diagnose COVID. There was $13,000 to admit a COVID patient to the floor, and that would be COVID or quote COVID rule out. And I talked about that in my video. A lot of these patients admitted, we knew they didn't have COVID, but financial incentive, let's get money for the hospital that's already, struggling to stay afloat. And then even knowing that ventilators were killing 100% of the patients by the time I got there, that was the wrong protocol. They knew it, they still know it, and they're still doing it to this day. $39,000 to put a patient on a ventilator. So now you're at 49,000. And there's incentive in the nursing homes. It was, I think it was approximately $10,000 per nursing home death from COVID. Why in the world are we giving financial incentives for any medical establishment to diagnose, treat, or create deaths? That money is literally the root of all evil. And in the meantime, they removed all liability from these facilities. So it was a free for all. And the people that are running these establishments, the administration, I blame a lot of the doctors and nurses that knew what was going on but didn't say anything. That is gross negligence. That was murder. What happened was murder in these hospitals, and nobody wants to talk about it.
So far in our conversation, at least for me, what I'm tracking on is Fauci, who is really the spokesperson somehow on this, doesn't appear to have actual real world experience. We're talking to Erin, who is one of many. She's just one of a few that have had the courage to put her job on the line, her livelihood on the line, and actually take video of what's been happening in these facilities. But there are many, many other people like that. But Fauci hasn't been in the facility, hasn't treated. We don't know how long it's been since he's actually treated a patient. And yet somehow he's a spokesperson. And now we have this other piece of financial incentives. Let me go to Governor Cuomo, since we're talking about credibility, reputation. I look at Governor Cuomo. I've never met him. I mean, he seems like a very accomplished politician. After all, he won the election in New York, and that's an achievement by itself. New York is a very complex location, and he's running that whole area. But you made a statement where you asked the question, what made him a medical expert? So it's like, because he's actually making decisions and issuing policy on what treatments should be allowed and what treatments should be allowed. And in particular, he made policies that made it difficult to treat with hydroxychloroquine. And if you want to know more about that, Erin's got videos where she breaks that down. So watch those videos. But I want to talk about Governor Cuomo. How come, or what is his source of expertise? Maybe I should put it that way, where he's making these policy decisions on what should be used for treatment for patients and what should not be used for treatment for patients?
That's a good question. I don't know where he's getting his expertise. I think ultimately it's who's feeding his ear. And I do think that this has been made very partisan. You touched on the hydroxychloroquine a little bit. He banned it. He banned it in the state of New York.
Hold on. He banned it?
So yeah, by the time, so I live in Florida, so our governor did not ban the use of the hydroxychloroquine zinc protocol. My hospital here, we treated every single patient with that protocol, and every single one of our patients survived. We didn't have.
Hold on. I just want to get that.
Yeah.
So this is not some private clinic. This is not some person. This is you use the word hospital. This is a hospital. This hospital here in Florida is using hydroxychloroquine. Wow. Not only are they using hydroxychloroquine, but they're getting good results from the use of it. And while that's happening in another location in New York, a politician, Mr. Cuomo, has said, no, we're not going to use hydroxychloroquine. I mean, is that what you just conveyed to me?
No, that's exactly it. And that was what was so confusing. While I'm sitting in Florida, a lot of us were getting furloughed. We weren't busy. So that travel position, I'm like, I want to go help. If this is my job, like, absolutely, I want to go help. And, that is when I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, why would a politician get in between a doctor-patient relationship? I've never seen this before. Why is a politician determining what treatment a doctor can or cannot give to their patients? So here's something that's really interesting that I think is maybe something that people would want to hear. So,
Sure.
like I said, the hospitals were liability free, except if a doctor prescribed hydroxychloroquine, they would lose their jobs and they would possibly lose their license. That's where liability kicked in.
So, okay, so just so I'm tracking, you may or may not know, I don't know, but where was that decision born? Like someone decided, okay, if a doctor issues hydroxychloroquine, we're going to hold him liable, and if he uses ventilators that have been demonstrated to be ineffective, if they use these other protocols that have been demonstrated to be ineffective, we won't have any liability. So that decision just didn't happen automatically. A computer program didn't decide that. Where are those kinds of decisions made?
The governor. Yeah.
Where?
The governors. The governors determined these policies, and they handed them down to the administrators of the hospitals, and the administrators of the hospitals handed them down to the doctors, nurses, and so on and so forth. So that's corrupt. I mean, that is absolutely, this is why I'm speaking out, because we have to stop this. History can never repeat itself. We can never let this happen again. And, people should be.
I know a little bit about this topic, and you're sharing things that I had no idea. So I just want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
I'm not the sharpest knife in the kitchen here. Governors decide where the liability will lie. This is an area that they don't have expertise in, but hey, they're doing it anyway. Okay, whatever. They issue that policy down. The hospitals pick that policy up, and the net result is Joe Sample, American citizen, goes to the hospital, and he or she won't get treated with hydroxychloroquine because it's been rigged so that the liability kicks in if the drug that's safe, that's been around for decades, is issued. Wow. Okay, my mind is blowing. I got to put some duct tape around it, or else it's going to explode. Okay, so let me think of the next question. All right. So the next question is this. Given, and now I'm going to meddle here. Now I'm going to meddle, Erin. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm in software. I'm a software guy. We use social media for marketing. That's how I market my clients' business and products. So I have noticed that Facebook, Twitter, but let's just pick on Facebook because they're fun to pick on. They have been very overt in saying if you put something around the topic of hydroxychloroquine, they just take it down. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they have a point. I mean, they don't want to spread rumors, right? They don't want to help spread rumors. So they have said I think they lean on the CDC, and then they lean on the World Health Organization. So I just want to come back, because is the World Health Organization, I mean, Erin, is the World Health Organization can't be wrong. I mean, they're on the line of Fauci and Governor Cuomo. The CDC can't be wrong. Are you? But on the other hand, Erin, you've been at ground zero. You've treated patients. You're not the World Health Organization. You're not the CDC. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I want to believe you because you've been there, but can the World Health Organization be wrong? Can the CDC be wrong? Help me process this, Erin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these organizations, I feel, are extremely corrupt. They've been so wishy-washy throughout this entire pandemic, or whatever you want to call it. They're not giving the whole story to the American public, because they're not listening to the whole story. There's incentive to push this onto people because there's no money in healthy people, you know, and the problem here is there's a lot of corrupt politicians, corrupt organizations, all kind of working together against the American public. And it's my opinion that they are ultimately trying to push Trump out of office. And they don't like the fact that the hydroxychloroquine was his idea. It's cheap, it's effective, it works, but they don't want that out to the public. Ultimately, you know, they want the vaccine out. They want control. They want to see how far they can push this. You know, I don't know even what it is at this point. You know, this virus has a 99% survival rate. So why isn't that being, you know, shared with people? And where did the flu go? And where did all these other, you know, ailments go? Everything is COVID right now. And no, I don't think any of these organizations can be trusted because they're not putting out the right information, and they're not listening to people like me or, you know, any of the frontline doctors or anyone else speaking out. They censor us, and, you know, essentially we're blacklisted from our professions now.
So it's remarkable. So you're watching this video here, and look, it should be simple, but it's difficult because people that have perceived high credibility, Mr. Fauci, Governor Cuomo, the World Health Organization, the CDC, they're all unified and all aligned with this idea that we need to lock people down. We need to, I don't even recap. If you're in America, you know what they're saying. I mean, it's policy. And here's what I want you to, you the viewer, here's what I want you to like consider. You've got all of that going on. And now you have Erin that I'm talking to here. She's a registered nurse. But here's the thing, she's actually been at Elmhurst. She's actually interacted and treated, not interacted, she's treated COVID patients. She's talked with and worked with the doctors that are treating the COVID patients. She has seen patients die based on the protocols that the CDC, it's crazy. My head's just bursting. Our medical system is working against us based on what Erin has seen. Anybody thinking, well, okay, who's Erin? I don't know Erin. And did she really see that? Listen, she had the guts to record what was happening and put on YouTube. I mean, it's right there. So you, the viewer, why we took all this time here is this. Listen, we are in this mess. I was, as you know, if you watch any of my other videos, I was not born in this country. I was born in Africa. I was raised up in Africa. I left 3 countries in Africa. I left them because they have censorship, they have government control, and the individual person, you watching this, has no rights to speak of. I come to this country here, phenomenal. Everyone's got rights. You can be anything you want, good or bad. You can, I mean, you can do whatever you want in this country. Until in the last few weeks, you can't. Censorship, government reach, it doesn't work. So why I'm saying all of that is this. We're in this mess, or I'm going to put it this way. If I could say this in the politest way, you Americans have created this mess because you have abdicated your civic responsibilities. I, as a foreigner, now I am privileged to be a US citizen. Can't even tell you how emotional I get just to say that. I'm privileged to be a US citizen, and I've done the same thing. I've been so busy trying to run my business, my family, my kids, my friends, that I've also abdicated my civic responsibility, and that's the way we are. Now, why did I say that whole speech? You guys watching this, you have got to inform yourself. You cannot trust what Erin said. You cannot trust what Fox or CNN. You can't do that. We've been doing that, and that's why we're in this mess. We've been apathetic and let someone else handle it. You've got to educate yourself. So please, if you are new to this topic, you must be living under a rock, but that's okay. I'm under a rock and know several things as well. Watch her videos. They're so interesting. I don't know how she did it. I'm not going to even ask how she did it, but she's actually recorded what's happened in these hospitals. It's documented. She's been featured on main news magazines, news articles. I'm going to say that her words have a high degree of reliability and accuracy. And I can't say that for any of these other guys that we've been listening to. So I want you to educate yourself. That's number one. Number two, I want you to go to www.stopthesteal.us. Why would I want you to do that? Here's why I want you to do that. There are 6 states that have been identified. And I want you, on all these 6 states, we've identified the elected officials, their phone numbers, their email addresses. We even got a script. I want, if you care about what Erin has just talked about, if you, like me, think that remarkably, this is like the movies, there's this mass orchestrated effort to put us out of our rights and to put us in danger. If you feel that way and you want to take an action, go to that website, and I want you to please contact those elected officials. You want to call them, and I want you to email them. And I want you to make very reasonable requests. This is not outlandish. We're not trying to get Trump elected or Biden elected. This is about something else entirely. All I want you to do is this. I want you to ask those elected officials, demand on a signature audit of the ballots from November 3rd in those 6 states. Why I'm asking you to do that? Because if you were to do that and the accuracy about what actually happened on November 3rd comes out, then a lot of this craziness that's happening right now will automatically begin to right itself. Erin, I want to give you the last word. First, thanks for this amazing expose that you've done and for the courage. I keep going back to the courage because I'm thinking, man, what kind of person would have the guts to do what Erin has done? She's early in her career, she's smart, she's a professional, and yet she's decided to put all of those on the side and instead stand for truth, ethical medical behavior, no matter what the cost is. It's remarkable what this woman stands for. So I want to give you the last word, and what would you like to say to the people that have been watching this video?
Well, I guess my courage comes from, I love my country. I served my country in the Army. I'm a veteran, I'm a combat veteran. And I love my country so much. And I think that most people do. Most people love America. We're the home of the free because of the brave. So don't ever think that your voice is too small, because I'm just one person. When you know what's right in your heart and you want to protect our future, or my children, your children, our future generations, we cannot allow them to grow up in an America that's not recognized any longer. So let's preserve the freedom and never think that your voice is too small, because at the end of the day, united we stand. And so let's do that and be brave and never afraid to do what's right.
Wow. Thank you, Erin. If someone wants to be in touch with you or the work you're doing, how do they do that?
I have an email list. You can find it at nurseerinwellness.com, and I send out, some updates and how you can get involved every so often. So that's a good way to keep in touch with me. And I'm on social media as well.
So Nurse Erin Wellness, is that what you said?
Yes, .com.
So it's www.nurseerin, is spelled ERIN, wellness.com. Thanks so much for what you do. Thanks for what you continue to do. Thanks for talking with me. We'll talk with you later.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.